Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 10. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and are you ready for the cold? It's ready for you. Moving into North Mississippi as we speak. That's the first headline we're tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center is just those frigid conditions that are moving in place. Temperatures are dropping, and that's not even a good word for it. They are plummeting heading into those overnight hours, and a noticeable difference will be felt as soon as you wake up for your Thursday morning commute. And guys, it's time to chill out. No, I'm not attacking anybody. I mean, literally, it is time to chill out because those wind chill values are going to be absurd. All the way into the teens. We'll look at that in a little bit more detail here in just a moment. But yeah, whether you like it or not, it's time to chill out. Latest on that winter precip, also tracking that here in just a moment because there is that potential, but things are starting to shift in the direction that I expected them to. And I'll have more details on that in just a moment. But I still have my doubts. And models starting to align with those doubts a little bit more, just a little bit. We're trending in that direction. The first 12, I'll let this speak for itself. Guys, those temperatures are real, and that is the actual temperature that will be outside. 31 degrees by 11, already sitting close to freezing right now. But as we get into those overnight hours, we're talking low 20s into the forecast. And look at the breezy conditions, about 5 to 10 miles an hour out of the north. That's enough to bring a little bit of a chill into North Mississippi. And of course, make us chill out as we get into our Thursday morning forecast. I don't know why that's cracking me up so much. What can I say? It was witty and I just loved it. 41 degrees in Amory right now, and there you're getting those feels like values. A 7-degree change from that actual value. 41 feeling like 34. So when we say it's a cold forecast, we mean it, and we hope that you guys are preparing heading into those morning hours because that morning commute definitely will need 3, maybe even 4 layers. 39 degrees Pontotoc, already feeling around freezing. That 13-mile-an-hour wind honestly just makes it overwhelming when we talk about those cold values, and honestly to a point that I don't even want to step outside. So taking out the dogs tonight, going to come at a cost. 43 degrees there in Starkville, about 6 miles an hour down there, so it's not going to be as breezy, but of course that frontal boundary moved through Starkville a little bit later than folks up north, so those breezy conditions will gradually extend south, and so will those wind chills. So buckle up, Oktibbeha County. It's moving in your area as we speak. 43 degrees Starkville, 40 Bruce, 45 Greenwood, and 39 Holly Springs. We're seeing 37 Booneville, 39 in Tupelo, so it's starting to get cold. A little bit colder than where things were last night, or should I say a lot of bit colder than last night. And we'll continue to enjoy those cold temperatures heading into our Thursday and Friday. Now, looking at that temperature change, guys, this is the cold that we're talking about. A double-digit change from what we saw this time yesterday. Of course, this time yesterday, we were adding moisture to the forecast. Now that moisture being driven away and allowing for that cool down to take place, and that's why we're seeing so significant of a change into those overnight hours and for the start of our Thursday. Yeah, cold weather for sure, but no snowfall going to be attached to that forecast. Heading into our Thursday morning, the main note that you'll need to know is layer up, but don't need to worry about any of that rain gear or snow gear because there's no precipitation in our morning forecast. We are dry, unlike what it has been earlier on today. Putting it on that 12-hour loop, you can see that line of showers working its way through North Mississippi and some of that scatter development on the backside, fully clearing out of the area by about 6 or 7 o'clock. And then on the back end, we have been dry as can be, high pressure, driving that forecast and allowing for these drier conditions to move in place. Now, as we look at some of those rainfall totals, a little bit more significant down towards the southeast, and we're still talking only about a little over 1/4 of an inch for a large portion of Winston, Attala, and Noxubee County. Even out there towards Holmes, getting a little bit of that as well. But up north, you're going to see a lot of trace up here because it wasn't exactly significant rainfall. Excited to go home and see my rain gauge just to kind of get a gauge, literally, of where that forecast sat there in Saltillo. But I always love getting that. And you guys always make fun of my rain gauge because it has an orange background on it. And so it basically, what is the word? It amplifies is what I'm going to say in the water. And so it makes it look like it's orange water and everyone thinks that it's something else. I'm not going to say it, but we can all assume what else that could be. And so, no, it's not. I promise you, it's just a rain gauge. It just kind of interacts with the water and makes it look like something different. So, yes, I'll let you guys know what those totals are whenever I get back to the house. But hope you appreciated that, and I hope you appreciated that little bit of a mild forecast for our Wednesday because things do change from here. What we have now is high pressure right there in the Midwest, and that is the big driver in our forecast moving forward. I'm going to use blue for these arrows because that blue describing that cold air that's moving in, yes, all the way from Canada. Expanding it out one more time, you can see just how dominant that ridging pattern is. And we're talking about this air all the way up here where there's actually snowfall attached to it, moving far south and east into North Mississippi. And that's where we're getting that absurdly cold air going to be right over the top of North Mississippi. So that's where that cold air is coming from. And unfortunately, doesn't really have any winter precip attached to it. So that cold, not really getting the benefits of that aside from that dry and clear forecast. So let's bring it back in here to North Mississippi, and I'm actually going to do it to where we can see the movement of that high pressure center. That's 3 a.m. on our Thursday, and as we work into those early morning hours, that morning commute, still going to see those breezy conditions out of the north and northwest. That's what brings that wind chill, and that's why it's going to feel even worse than what those actual temperatures are. I would argue that you could bear 22 degrees or whatever the forecast is if there wasn't a wind attached to it, but that's not the case for your Thursday, and that's going to make for some miserable commutes heading out the door. 9 a.m. still seeing those breezy conditions overhead, and with temperatures not climbing too much through the day, it's unfortunately going to be dealing with that wind chill all day long, even into those peak heating hours of our afternoon. Unfortunately, just not going to get a break from those chilly conditions. 23 degrees heading out the door tomorrow morning, but getting into the afternoon, guys, we are not topping out except for 41 degrees and a few areas not even exceeding the 30s. But those breezy conditions still remain in place throughout those lunchtime and afternoon hours before beginning a little bit of a calmer pattern overnight into our Friday. So hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but luckily there is still some good with our forecast, and that is those sunny skies we'll be seeing all day long. But as we get into that extended pattern, we are talking about more than just cold air. As Matt has talked about throughout your evening, we're going to continue to give the latest on those wintry precip tracks where we're expecting the highest potential, and of course using our snow finder latest exclusive graphic here on Mississippi Live Weather. Excited to debut that earlier on today. We're going to keep that coverage going with it because it gives you those likelihoods of seeing some of that wintry precip. All of that coming up live from the Room to Room Weather Center here in the next 60. Oop, I might have clicked off of it. Bear with me.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team-up.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Ricky in our chat, hoping to see a little bit of snow with this cold weather. Unfortunately, heading into our Thursday, we are as dry as we can possibly be. Dew point's currently sitting at 28 degrees there in West Point. Those winds 15 miles an hour out of the northwest, helping supply those drier conditions. And that's why we don't expect any precip in that forecast. All those rain chances today moving on out in a drier pattern, setting the scene heading into the latter part of this week. Winona, double-digit wind gusts as well coming out of the north there in Montgomery County. 45 degrees, and that dew point even lower at 25 degrees. But look at the feels like values. 45 feeling like 39. So is it cold enough for you? Don't worry, it gets even colder if it's not just yet. And as we take a look at our Oxford camera, of course, students heading back to school this week, meant to mention that with the Starkville camera earlier on, but nonetheless, they're entering into this week with a soggy start on your Wednesday and then a cold finish to the week. So what a week to head back to school. And I hope that all the students have had a safe commute back and are ready for the new semester. Spring semester going to be exciting and bring a lot of good times over there to folks in Stark, Vegas, and Oxford. Of course, big win tonight. I want to shout out the Rebels because my wife, of course, my favorite Rebel, she got a big dub with the Ole Miss Rebels taking down the number 21 Georgia Bulldogs in basketball. A little buzzer beater tip in. Definitely got to check it out if you've not seen it just yet. That shot almost as beautiful as where this forecast currently sits on our Mama Justice Doppler radar, not tracking a drop of rainfall, and definitely has calmed down from what we saw earlier today. Hey, even the radar has chilled out just a bit. But as we look at that water vapor imagery, you can see how it's just some drier air. There's a little hue of that orange in the background showing us that that drier air is moving overhead. And if you can't really see it right there, well, look at the difference from what we dealt with earlier on today. That's the leading edge of that front, and all of that moisture going to be attached to it. That's a thing of the past for us and a thing of the future for folks up in the Atlantic coast. We are left with a drier pattern, and all of this dry air in the Midwest continue to cycle into North Mississippi. As we take a look at that frontal boundary, of course, moving its way up the Atlantic coast, and where we're left in North Mississippi is with not a single drop, very dry, clear skies, allowing for those cold temperatures to set into those overnight hours. So taking a look at our day planner, it's going to be a cold one for sure. Along with those breezy conditions out of the north, that's going to allow these temperatures to feel so much worse. I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's hard to be optimistic when we're talking about this dangerous of cold temperatures. 29 degrees by midnight, 23 heading out the door by 6 a.m. Those mostly clear skies are actually clear skies, allowing for that heating to clear on out, and that's why we're dropping to some significant values overnight. If you've not already done so, pets, plants, and your pipes, go ahead and get those prepared. Get those faucet covers back out. Do a slight drip on the sinks and faucets as well, just to accommodate for these cold temperatures, because this is that dangerous cold we're talking about. 23 degrees will result in some frosty conditions and also some potential freeze conditions and potentially some busted pipes as well. So we want to prepare. Mine are covered right now, I believe, unless the wind has knocked it off, but we'll check that before we head to bed tonight. And I recommend you guys to do the same before you head to bed as well. Let's go ahead and get into Futurecast overnight. And no, you won't see much of anything in the sky, maybe the passing cirrus cloud here or there, but all the action has cleared out from what we had earlier on today. What you need to note on our Futurecast is how breezy those conditions are coming out of the north, allowing for that colder and drier air to settle in. All of that continues to build into the forecast by the early hours of our Thursday. A little bit of a shift there to a northwesterly component, but that air actually makes it even drier. So folks, you're in for a dry one on your Thursday, which makes for a calm forecast as well. That also builds in those cold temperatures like we've been mentioning all night. A whole bunch of 22s showing up from Bruce all the way northeast into Tishomingo County. 25 Greenwood, 27 Cleveland, Belzona, and 28 there towards Greenville. Let's go ahead and factor in those wind chills. Guys, we're talking about teens for basically everybody in North Mississippi. So layer up and, of course, wear some gloves tomorrow, whatever you need to do. Overdo it, because we want you guys to stay warm whether you're heading to the school bus or to work. And of course, speaking of that school bus graphic, your IMNPC school bus forecast, 22 degrees around pickup, 41 by drop off. So guys, we need layers. Layer up heading into tomorrow morning. Oftentimes back when I was younger, would lay out my outfit before I started the day, because of course that takes time to pick out and everything. So we get that together the night before. And if I was doing that right now, I think I'd have about 3 or 4 outfits that I would wear all at one time as I'm heading in the school door. So it's going to be a cold forecast, some chilly temperatures that we've not seen in quite some time. So we want to make sure that you guys are prepared as we head into this forecast. Let's bring it back in here to Futurecast. And as we, of course, zoom things out, you can see that high pressure continues to be the big driver in our forecast. That being seen on the bottom left of your screen, that will remain in the area and allow for these northerly winds to cycle in once again. So we're going to get those breezy conditions all throughout our Thursday, never really getting a break. And of course, that means that dry air remains right overhead. Noontime, still dealing with those cold temperatures. And as we get into the afternoon hours, breezy conditions may be taking a bit of a step back, and that's where we're going to maybe see less of a wind chill as we wrap up our Thursday. Definitely not going to be nearly as impactful as our morning, but of course, anything is better than those morning wind chill values. Our 6 p.m. hour, yes, it's going to be clear. Yes, it's going to be dry, but it never really warms up despite all that sunshine. Bringing it back in here to North Mississippi, you can see 41 in New Albany, 42 Tupelo, Amory, 43 Starkville, Columbus, and Macon, and we're seeing 42 Cleveland all the way up the river into Tunica. So folks, it's going to be cold all day long, luckily getting slightly above that freezing value by the time we get towards our Thursday afternoon, but then things cool off once again overnight back into the 20s. So oh man, the roaring 20s, they'll be roaring heading into this week for sure. Futurecast 9 p.m., some partly cloudy skies do move into the area, but only for a brief moment. Those clearing on out along with the rest of that moisture. The main thing why we're expecting a little bit more cloud cover, these southerly winds building in and allowing for some of that moisture to be put back into the forecast. Not enough to produce rainfall, but potential for a few clouds. Those, of course, continuing into your Friday morning forecast, but mostly clear conditions do remain overhead. That, once again, allows our atmosphere to cool off, and we're setting the scene for another cold morning heading into our Friday. But hey, it's somewhat better than Thursday morning lows. 27 New Albany, 28 Oxford, Senatobia, and Holly Springs, 31 Greenwood, Clarksdale, Tunica, even around South Haven, and even for parts of Belzona. 28 Kosciuszko, working its way east, and of course 26 Aliceville, 25 Vernon. It hurts my heart seeing these temperatures. I love winter feeling air. This is just absurd. I want it to be close to freezing, not this far below freezing. Futurecast on your Friday, staying with those dry conditions once again. Southerly wind will try to work back some of those warmer temperatures on your Friday, and that will, of course, feel a little bit nice compared to what we've been seeing the past few days. But as we get into our Friday Futurecast, there is one note, and that is some showers trying to work their way into the area. Main reason why? We have this system that's starting to develop way up there towards our north, and this frontal boundary extending off of it all the way into parts of Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas. That front gradually working its way south and east and giving us the potential of a few light showers by our Friday afternoon. Now, this is definitely a new development from what we saw earlier runs of the HRRR model. So one of the things we have to kind of shift our gears on working our way into our Friday. What this will do is honestly limit how much we cool off because of that moisture in the air, and that's going to be a good thing because that doesn't mean we're sitting in the low 20s. So, hey, any positive you can take, we definitely take it in this forecast. Those showers build and become a little bit more significant, working their way east, and there you're seeing some snow in the forecast, but that's going to be in those highly elevated areas up around Knoxville, Kingsport, Chattanooga, and even up there towards Asheville, North Carolina. So Friday, it is going to be rainy for some, not going to be all day long, but at least a chance for a few of those showers, and high temperatures going to be pretty mild, all things considered. 57 Houston, 56 Amory, 54 in Tupelo, 58 Greenwood, Eupora, and Starkville, and 55 Cleveland, 58 there towards Greenville. I am seeing some 60s, Belzona and Kosciuszko, but our normal 53 degrees, not far from that. So at least we're average. Again, we're just basically flip-flopping this forecast that the amount of days we've been average have been very minimal. So I'm excited to see that month in review as we reach the end of January and kind of see where we sat throughout the month, because we're going to see a lot of blues and oranges, not a whole lot of gray. So let's go ahead and take this Futurecast into that extended pattern. And as you see right here, we went ahead and put temperatures on this forecast. And of course, we'll look at those, our snow finder here in just a moment. But I want to first start with the temperatures as we get into the extended pattern. I'm trying to read chat just a bit. Hug a heater, buckle up, buttercup, however you want to word it. Honestly, those are both great ways to do it. Don't literally hug a heater. Not going to recommend that for anyone that was about to walk up to a heater. It would hurt, so don't do that. But find ways to stay warm. That's going to be essential, but definitely buckle up, buttercup. It's going to be a cold forecast. All right, Futurecast. What we've done is we've highlighted the temperatures here in North Mississippi, but we're zooming it out to kind of see how that atmosphere is shifting with some of our winter precip chances, or just precip chances in general, working our way through our Saturday. So here you see Saturday at midnight. Still going to be a dry pattern, but as we get into those early morning hours, we're still going to remain pretty dry, but the chance at a few potential flakes, not an impossibility. And this is, of course, our strike model, which is the most ambitious model that we've seen when it comes to these chances. But seeing a flake, I would say, is not an impossibility, especially if we get that moisture rebuilding on our Friday. And as you can see, temperatures lining up well with this as well. 32 degrees Tunica and South Haven. So you're looking at that, seeing snow at the early part of the day, and you're thinking, well, hey, this is shaping up to be a good forecast. The unfortunate thing is our Saturday warms up. And so it's not going to allow for that precip chance to really linger in the forecast for too long. A lot of those blues transitioning to green, and even where you're seeing the blue, look at the temperatures at the surface, 38, 39 degrees. Yes, it's cold, but it's not cold enough. And that's what it needs to be in order for snowfall to make an impact or to do what we want and get some accumulation on the ground. No, it's not going to be the case. It's still just too warm. So let's keep it expanded, because I know what we've all been tracking, and that's South Mississippi as we get into our Saturday night. Watch how all of these rain chances shift south into Jackson as part of parts of Hattiesburg closer to about 5 and 6 o'clock. What you're getting is a lot more green than what was originally showing up on our strike model. And this is a big change in the forecast, because look at temperatures. North Mississippi still sitting upper 30s and low 40s. Again, it's cold, but not cold enough. And down south, it's even warmer. So for folks that are dealing with any of this precipitation down around Jackson and Hattiesburg, as well as parts of Meridian, as of 6 o'clock, I don't really have that verifying with it being any winter precip. because the ground's just too warm. But as we get into those late night hours, watch how we start to transition. I mean, for certain parts, and this is going to be those colder areas where it's slight clearing as well. We're talking low to mid 30s. Down south, I still believe those to be in the mid 30s, and that's not cold enough. Once again, we need it to drop a little bit more in order for this to form. Now, could flakes form aloft? For sure, and we do expect it to, because there is that dendritic growth zone allowing for those snowflakes to form way high up into the atmosphere. But those flakes, once they enter the atmosphere closer to the surface, it's just too warm, melts those flakes and falls as rainfall. So that's going to be 10 p.m. on our Saturday. And as we get closer to midnight, you can see how a large part of that does shift to blue. This is when I would expect some snowfall to start potentially accumulating if this were to verify. And so far, our strike model and our American model, the GFS, are starting to verify these chances a little bit more, becoming a little bit more consistent. But what we're waiting on is some of our short-range models that are coming out tomorrow and into your Friday to verify this as well. That's going to give us a better idea, but definitely seeing the better chances for any winter precip further towards our south, just because of the time of night lining up with the chances of precip, and of course midnight, it's going to be colder than noon like it is in North Mississippi when we're getting these chances. So that's why those chances are better further south. By the time we get towards 3 a.m., I mean, let's go ahead and bring it back into North Mississippi. Guys, we're talking low to mid 20s. Whenever we move all of this air out towards Alabama, it's definitely cold enough for that snow to start to make an impact. So as we look there towards Birmingham and Huntsville, and even as far south as Dothan, yeah, not too far from the beach, guys, that's where we could see some of that winter precip continue as well. It just requires those temperatures to be cold enough and the air to be saturated enough as well. This positioning will change. The temperatures will alter. How that changes the forecast, that's going to be the big question moving forward. I still have my doubts whenever it comes to this forecast, but I do expect that there will be some winter precip in Mississippi and in Alabama, especially during those overnight hours. But as we get into the rest of our Sunday morning, folks in Alabama definitely going to be seeing I'm not going to say a winter wonderland just yet, but if this verifies, we'll definitely be seeing some decent accumulation totals. But again, this is one model out of the many, and we need all of those to become a little bit more consistent before we're confident about these chances. And we'll see that confidence where it sits here in just a moment. Into our Sunday forecast, going to be cold in North Mississippi on the back end of this frontal boundary. And as we get into that extended forecast for our Sunday afternoon, those temperatures do climb. So any of that snowfall that does happen and potentially accumulates, that'll start to melt as early as Sunday afternoon. So not going to stick around forever. And my mom was asking me earlier if they were okay to travel down to South Alabama, and did not think that I'd be preparing for snow whenever it came to a South Alabama forecast. But here we are, and I told them that they'll be okay. If they're coming back Monday, just wait on the snow to melt on out, and you'll be good to go. And again, that's if this continues to verify. I'm saying that as a big if, but talking about this model in particular. Snow Finder, a thing that we debuted at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening, and it is a Mississippi Live Weather exclusive. So you guys can only find it here on our channel, and this basically walks through the confidence of any accumulation to take place, or any snowfall to take place for that matter. As you can see, that likelihood, those greens, pay attention to that, because that's going to be what we see a lot of as we get into our Snow Finder here in just a moment. And those greens only about 10, 20, maybe 30%. So let's keep Snow Finder moving into your Thursday night, of course, going to stay on the drier side, no chance of snow. And even as we get into our Friday, those snow chances remain primarily towards the north. But then we get into Saturday morning, and you're starting to see some of those chances move into the area. And we were talking about the chance for flurries early on our Saturday. I'm not ruling that out for folks in DeSoto and Tunica County as that line works its way on through. With temperatures being sub-freezing, it is possible. But again, it warms up, and it's not going to stick around forever. But then we get into our Saturday afternoon, and watch how all that green starts to move into North Mississippi and increase those chances just a bit, just a tad bit. We're talking 0% upping to about 20 to potentially 30%. That's going to be that front that moves across North Mississippi, and if those temperatures do line up, which we expect it to by 9 or 10 o'clock, that's where those chances start to increase. So by 9 p.m., there you're getting that 30% threshold, basically south from Jackson to Meridian down to Hattiesburg, and then working its way into Alabama as well. Now, there is some 30% totals in the Golden Triangle area, but basically, if you want to see snow, your best chances are going to be further towards the south if this continues to line up the way we expect it to, and that the way models have done so far. By midnight, those chances still picking up, that front extending all the way across Alabama and southern Mississippi. And of course, that's where it's going to be cold enough for, if this verifies, that we could get some of those accumulating totals. And that being said, as we get into our Sunday morning, 3 a.m., some of those yellows showing up, that's 40% confidence that there will be some snowfall in that area, and gradually building as we get into our Sunday morning for parts of Atlanta and up the Atlantic coast into your Sunday morning. So it's going to be an interesting forecast. And basically all of this being said, it's going to change. And that's why you need to stay tuned to Mississippi Live Weather. We're going to update you on what we're tracking. But we also will express our doubts, our concerns, whenever we're talking about any type of forecast, whether that be severe weather or snowfall forecast. So make sure to keep it here for the very latest over the next couple of days, and we are going to fine tune this forecast and keep you guys updated on as much as possible. Here's what we can guarantee. It's going to be cold. Take a look at these low temperatures getting into the next several days. 22 on Thursday, 26 Friday. Your 30 on Saturday is actually the warmest temperature over the next 7, because then we see a significant drop once that front clears, and we're going to be low 20s and upper teens getting into the start of next week. So guys, grab those layers. If you don't need it tomorrow, which I don't see why you wouldn't need it tomorrow, you will definitely need it by next week. High temperatures following that same trend. Your more mild forecast going to be on Friday, Saturday 43 degrees, and then we're sitting in the mid-30s Sunday afternoon. So it's not climbing too much, but just enough to melt a little bit of that potential winter precip if it does come down and verify like some models are projecting as of this point. So again, we could have put a 20%, but I'm not fully sold on it just yet. I need more alignment before we up those confidence levels and our percentage values as we get into our weekend. So basically right now, we have a 10% on Saturday, a 10% on Friday, and then a 10% into parts of next week as well. But those temperature forecasts, that's our guarantee as of right now, remaining in the 20s basically every day except for your Saturday. Even then, we're starting at 30 degrees. So it's cold. High temperatures don't get much better. Again, we have one day that's going to be at our average, and every other day is going to be significantly below there. Dry conditions, for the most part, going to remain in the forecast with plenty of sunshine, so there is a lot to look forward to. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys are excited about the potential. I know there's a lot of team snow, but there's a lot of team no. And I went ahead and put a poll up on my Facebook page earlier on today. Let's look at the results of that vote. And of course, that poll, with all the snow potential this weekend, are you team snow or team no? And an overwhelming majority was team snow. Some stipulations, one of those brought up by my wife, team snow if it's on a weekday, team no if it's on a weekend. And I completely understand that, and I think I would agree with her on that. I love it during a weekday because it means that she gets to stay home with me and not have to go to school that day. So heavily biased in that direction, but I do enjoy a little bit of snow. I was born in Iowa, so I guess that's just part of my blood, and I like to get a little bit of a taste of, back in my hometown, way up there in Des Moines. So folks, I know that you are either team snow or team no, so go vote on Facebook today, meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and we will, of course, update those tallies as we get into that extended forecast. We appreciate you guys joining us tonight, and I see a lot of folks that are happy about the snow, unhappy about the snow. Very cold all week for sure. Hank hitting the nail on the head. It's going to be a cold forecast, so please layer up tomorrow morning. Prepare those pets, pipes, and plants. I know a lot of folks saying their plants are already dead. Me too. So I don't have to bring those in, so I guess that's one thing off the list. But your pets for sure, and prepare those pipes. We don't want to wake up to any of those pipes bursting tomorrow morning. Stay safe, stay warm, and of course, enjoy the forecast ahead. Guys, we will see you coming up on... Coming up at 6:37 and 7:30, Pat saying team absolutely nope. Okay, well, I know which side you're on. You made that clear and apparent. Martha saying wedding Saturday at 3 o'clock. Well, it just will depend on those chances. And that's one of the things we'll track in the extended forecast. You can go back and watch this broadcast to kind of walk through the latest on what we have on our strike model and how that's verifying with winter precip as well. But heading into the 6:37 and 7:30 hours, Maggie's going to be tracking the latest on that forecast as well, how those latest runs are verifying, and of course, we'll be back at 5, 6, and 10 for the very latest here in the Room to Room Weather Center. If you've not already done so, Mississippi Live Weather app, best way to stay updated on that forecast, free and available on iOS and Android today. We appreciate everybody who has supported us so far, and we hope that you guys are staying safe, staying informed, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, which means the world to us. But any feedback that you guys have, please just let us know, and you can email us, info@msliveweather.com. So there you go. We can't wait to see you guys bright and early at 6:37 and 7:30 with meteorologist Maggie McCauley. She'll be having the very latest on those cold, frigid Miserable temperatures ahead, and you guys, of course, stay warm as we go about our Thursday. We will see you back at 5, 6, and 10 for Matt and I here on Mississippi Live Weather. Have a terrific Thursday. Stay warm. We'll see you bright and early.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.